Good morning, freshmen. Today we will be reviewing the economic activities of the colonies and the role slavery played in both regions. Before we get started, let's review some throwback vocabulary. Now, let's review from yesterday. Today we will talk a little bit more about the role of slaves in the colonies. As we know, the slaves were brought over from Africa through the triangular trade. There were slaves in both the North and the South colonies. In the North, they mainly worked in some of the small businesses and industries, for example, cutting down timber or working the shops. However, the North had a higher population of people and fewer farms, so the need for slaves was not very high. However, there were many more slaves in the South. This is because the South relied on agriculture for their economy. Throughout the South, there were large plantations that grew cash crops like cotton and tobacco, as well as rice and indigo. These plantations relied on the free forced labor of the slaves to work the fields in order to make money. As time went on, the North began to feel that slavery was not right. However, because of interdependence, they relied on the slave labor of the South. The slaves grew the cotton and other crops the North needed for their industries. Therefore, both the North and the South depended on slave labor for their economy. Despite the economic interdependence, conflict soon arose between the North and the South regarding slaves. The North greatly disapproved of the way the Southern plantation owners treated their slaves. In the North, the slaves were usually treated well. They were well fed and clothed, and sometimes were able to work their way to freedom. However, in the South, the slaves were often forced to work long hours in the field under the hot sun, not fed well, and forced to sleep in small rooms with many other slaves. In the end, even though the North needed the cotton, they decided to oppose slavery, and the colonies eventually went to war over this issue.